Welcome back, cherished companions on this profound wisdom quest, fellow travelers on this path of ever-deepening understanding, and now, ever-expanding heart. Here we arrive together at the threshold of day 8 of our transformative 30-day journey. With each day we spend together in this shared exploration, we are consciously and skillfully building upon the solid foundations of the last, weaving a richer, more resilient, and deeply integrated inner tapestry, a way of being in the world that can support us, guide us, connect us, and ultimately transform us through all of life's beautiful, complex, and challenging seasons. Yesterday, our journey led us into the luminous and heart-opening practice of the power of gratitude. We explored with great depth how the conscious and consistent appreciation for the myriad gifts in our lives, both monumental and minute, can literally rewire our brains for happiness, shift our entire perceptual framework from one of scarcity to one of boundless abundance, and fill our days with a quiet, joyful resonance. Today, we will explore what so naturally, so beautifully, and so powerfully blossoms from that fertile ground of a truly grateful heart. When we are genuinely and consistently thankful for our own lives, a profound and natural shift in orientation occurs. Our hearts, no longer solely focused on our own needs and desires, begin to open with curiosity, tenderness, and care to the equally real and valid lives of others. We move from the inner cultivation of our own well-being to the rich, complex, challenging, and deeply rewarding realm of our shared human experience. With this newly opened heart as our compass and our guide, we now turn our full and focused attention to two of the most essential, noble, and profoundly human qualities we can possibly choose to cultivate: empathy and compassion, the sacred and practical arts of truly, deeply, and authentically connecting with our shared humanity. When we hear the words empathy and compassion, we often use them interchangeably in our daily language. Yet in the landscape of wisdom and psychology, they represent distinct, though intimately and synergistically related, stages of a profound human capacity. It is absolutely crucial to understand their unique textures, their different functions, and their powerful interplay. Empathy, at its very core, is the ability to understand and to share the feelings of another. It's the visceral experience of feeling with someone, of stepping out of the confines of our own subjective reality and entering, for a moment, into theirs. This profound capacity can be further broken down into several essential components. First, there is cognitive empathy, which is the more intellectual ability to understand another person's perspective, to see the world from their point of view, to walk a mile in their shoes intellectually. Second, and more viscerally, there is affective or emotional empathy, which is the deeper capacity to actually feel a resonance with another person's emotional state, to feel a genuine pang of their sadness or a spark of their joy in our own nervous system. It's the felt sense of connection. And some researchers propose a third component, empathic concern or compassionate empathy, which acts as a crucial bridge. This is when we not only feel and understand another's distress, but we also develop a sincere desire for their well-being, a genuine wish for their suffering to be eased. Empathy, in all its forms, is the vital bridge that allows us to cross the seeming chasm between self and other, powerfully reminding us of our fundamental, inescapable interconnectedness. Compassion, however, is empathy plus something more. Compassion, whose root in Sanskrit, karunā, implies an active, responsive quality, is essentially empathy in action. It is the noble quality that arises when our empathetic connection to another as suffering is combined with a genuine, heartfelt desire and active motivation to help alleviate that suffering. If empathy is the state of, I feel with you, compassion adds the powerful, motivating intention, and I want to help you be free from this suffering. This is a vital and empowering distinction, because while unchecked emotional empathy, sometimes called emotional contagion, can sometimes lead to feeling overwhelmed, distressed, or burnt out by simply absorbing the pain of others, true compassion, with its inherent element of wisdom, active caring, and positive intention, can be a boundless, energizing, and renewable source of strength, meaning, and profound human connection. It's also critically important to distinguish these qualities from their more distant cousins. Sympathy is feeling for someone, often from a safe emotional distance, acknowledging their misfortune without necessarily sharing their feeling. Pity often implies a sense of looking down upon someone, a feeling of superiority that separates rather than connects. Empathy and compassion meet others on the equal, hallowed ground of our shared humanity, recognizing a common vulnerability and a shared aspiration for happiness in both their joy and their pain. The cultivation of these precious qualities is not merely a nice or virtuous thing to do. It is absolutely essential for a meaningful life and a healthy society, a truth now being illuminated with remarkable clarity by modern science. Our very neurobiology is exquisitely wired for this deep connection. Scientists have discovered what are known as mirror neurons in our brains, neurons that fire both when we perform an action and when we observe someone else performing that same action. This neural mirroring is believed to be a key mechanism behind our ability to understand others' intentions and feel empathy. When we witness another's pain or joy, our empathy circuit, a network involving brain regions like the anterior insula. The measurable benefits of strengthening this innate capacity are immeasurable and life-altering. Socially, empathy and compassion are the bedrock of all healthy and thriving relationships, the essential glue that creates and sustains trust, fosters cooperation, resolves conflict, and builds resilient communities. Personally, a compassionate life is a meaningful life. It powerfully counteracts feelings of isolation and loneliness by fostering a sense of profound connection to the larger human family. And paradoxically, as we'll explore, developing true compassion can be a powerful antidote to the burnout that can sometimes accompany raw, unprocessed empathy, providing us with a more sustainable, wise, and joyful way to engage with the undeniable suffering of the world. So, understanding with this greater depth their profound importance, how do we begin to consciously and skillfully cultivate these essential human virtues in the soil of our daily lives? We begin by strengthening the foundational skills of empathy. One of the most powerful and accessible ways to develop our empathic capacity is through the dedicated practice of deep or empathic listening. In our fast-paced world, we so often listen with the intent to reply, to fix, to debate, or to insert our own story. Empathic listening is a radical shift. It is listening with the sole dedicated purpose of truly understanding another person's inner world without judgment. This involves giving them your full, undivided attention, putting away your phone, turning away from your screen, and making eye contact. It means listening not just to their words, but to the emotions, the needs, and the values that lie beneath the surface. Pay attention to their tone of voice, their facial expressions, their body language. A key skill here is to reflect back what you hear, not as a parrot, but to check for understanding. You might say, "It sounds like you felt really overwhelmed and unsupported in that situation. Is that right?" This simple act of reflecting validates their experience and makes them feel genuinely seen and heard. Another potent practice for building empathy is conscious perspective taking. This is the active and imaginative effort to place yourself in someone else's shoes, particularly someone whose life experiences are vastly different from your own. You can do this by intentionally reading novels by authors from different cultures or backgrounds, watching documentaries that illuminate different societal issues, or simply following people on social media who share different viewpoints. The goal is not necessarily to agree with them, but to stretch your understanding and appreciate the complex web of factors that shape their reality. It is an exercise in intellectual humility and imaginative connection. Underlying both of these is the cultivation of genuine curiosity. We can train ourselves to approach others not with our preconceived judgments and assumptions at the forefront, but with a sincere curiosity about their stories, their feelings, and their experiences. Instead of thinking, why would they do that? We can learn to ask, I wonder what led them to that point. What might that feel like? This shift from judgment to curiosity is a fundamental gateway to empathy. Before we can sustainably extend compassion outward, however, we must first ensure its wellspring is full within ourselves. A dry well cannot quench the thirst of another. Therefore, our next essential step is to turn this lens of kindness inward and explore the non-negotiable foundation for all genuine compassion, the practice of self-compassion. This is not selfishness or self-pity. It is treating ourselves with the same kindness, care, and understanding that we would offer to a dear friend who is struggling. Dr. Kristin Neff, a pioneering researcher in this field, has identified 3 core components of self-compassion. The first pillar is self-kindness, which stands in direct opposition to our often harsh and relentless inner critic. When we make a mistake, fail at a task, or feel inadequate, our habitual tendency is often to berate ourselves with a torrent of self-judgment. Self-kindness invites us to pause this inner warfare and instead offer ourselves words of warmth, encouragement, and understanding. It's about replacing the inner critic with an inner ally, recognizing that being imperfect is part of the human condition and that we are worthy of kindness, especially when we are hurting. The second pillar is a profound sense of common humanity. This is the recognition that suffering, failure, and imperfection are not isolated personal failings, but are integral parts of the shared human experience. When we struggle, our tendency is often to feel isolated, as if we are the only one feeling this way. Common humanity reminds us that everyone suffers. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone feels inadequate at times. By remembering this, by connecting our personal suffering to the larger human condition, we counteract the painful sense of isolation and realize we are not alone in our struggles. The third pillar is mindfulness, our trusted tool from day 6. In the context of self-compassion, mindfulness allows us to hold our painful thoughts and feelings in balanced, spacious awareness. It helps us to be with our pain without suppressing it, but also without being completely consumed or over-identified with it. We can observe our sadness, our anxiety, or our anger with a clear and present awareness, acknowledging its presence without letting it become our entire reality. A simple yet powerful way to practice this is the self-compassion break. In a moment of difficulty, you can pause, place a hand over your heart, and say to yourself, first, this is a moment of suffering. Second, suffering is a part of life. And third, may I be kind to myself in this moment. This practice can fundamentally shift your relationship with your own pain. Now, with our own wellspring attended to through self-compassion, we can more authentically and sustainably turn our hearts outward to cultivate compassion for others. The cornerstone practice for this, in many wisdom traditions, is Metta, or loving kindness meditation. This is a beautiful and systematic practice of extending wishes of well-being and happiness, first to ourselves and then progressively outwards. It is a practice that directly trains the heart and mind in the direction of unconditional love and goodwill. The practice typically involves the silent repetition of a series of phrases. Having already offered loving kindness to ourselves, we then bring to mind a cherished person, someone we love easily, and extend the same wishes to them. May you be happy. May you be healthy and strong. May you be safe from harm. May you live with ease. Feel the warmth of your heart extending towards them. Next, the practice expands to a neutral person, someone you might see in your daily life, but don't have strong feelings about. You offer them the same heartfelt wishes, recognizing their shared humanity. The practice then moves to the more challenging stage, bringing to mind a difficult person. Here, the practice is not about condoning their actions, but about recognizing that they, too, are a suffering being, and for the sake of your own peace, you extend the wishes of Metta towards them. If this feels too difficult, you can simply wish, "May you be free from the causes of your suffering." Finally, the practice expands to encompass all living beings without exception, radiating these wishes outwards in all directions. Beyond formal meditation, compassion is watered and nourished through small, consistent acts of kindness. It is about translating the compassionate feeling in your heart into tangible action in the world. This can be as simple as offering a genuine compliment, letting someone go ahead of you in line, donating a small amount to a cause you care about, or simply offering your full, present, empathic listening to a friend who is struggling. These small actions create positive ripples and reinforce our own identity as a compassionate person. To truly master these states, we must also understand how they live in our bodies. This is the somatics of empathy and compassion, the body's wisdom. These are not just abstract ideas. They are physiological states rooted in our nervous system. A key skill here is interoception, our ability to sense our own internal bodily states, our heart rate, our breathing, the tension in our muscles. When we are with someone who is suffering, strong interoception allows us to distinguish, is this my anxiety I'm feeling, or am I resonating with theirs? This clarity is crucial to prevent emotional contagion. Furthermore, we can understand this through the lens of polyvagal theory, developed by Dr. Stephen Porges. This theory suggests our nervous system has three primary states. There is the fight or flight state of the sympathetic nervous system, activated by danger. There is the shutdown or freeze state of the dorsal vagal system, our most ancient response to being overwhelmed. And then there is the ventral vagal state, a more recently evolved system of safety and social engagement. It is from this calm, grounded, and connected physiological state that true empathy and compassion can flow sustainably. When someone's suffering triggers our own trauma and throws us into fight or flight or shutdown, we cannot be truly present or compassionate. Therefore, a core part of compassion practice is learning to regulate our own nervous system, to bring ourselves back to that ventral vagal state of safety. A simple way to do this is to place a hand on your heart and a hand on your belly. Take a few slow, deep breaths with a longer exhale and offer yourself the message, "I am safe in this moment." By creating safety in our own body, we create a safe harbor for others. Of course, the path of empathy and compassion is not without its own challenges, and it is wise to navigate them with awareness. One of the most significant is the experience of empathy fatigue or burnout. This can happen when we are constantly exposed to suffering and absorb it without a way to process it. The antidote is twofold. First is radical self-compassion, as we just explored. The second is to intentionally shift from pure empathy to active compassion. When we focus on the desire to help, it can be energizing and protect us from being overwhelmed. We must also be mindful of what is sometimes called idiot compassion, which is the misguided attempt to alleviate suffering by simply enabling harmful behaviors. True compassion is wise. It is not about being a doormat. It can be fierce. It can mean setting firm boundaries, speaking a difficult truth, or taking action to prevent harm, all while holding a fundamental wish for the well-being of all involved. Having explored the practical skills, the heart-opening practices, the somatic underpinnings, and the wise navigation of their challenges, we now arrive at a place of deeper, more expansive inquiry. We move from the foundational how to the profound why, and the paradigm shifting. What if? The following are not questions with simple answers, but are offered as seeds for your own deep, ongoing contemplation. First, let us contemplate the profound and inextricable relationship between compassion and wisdom. In many wisdom traditions, particularly Buddhism, where compassion is karunā and wisdom is prajna, these are seen as the two essential wings of a bird, both absolutely necessary for flight. We might ask ourselves, can true, effective compassion exist without the clear sight of wisdom? If we act with heartfelt intention, but without understanding the true causes of suffering, can we inadvertently cause more harm? Conversely, can true wisdom exist without the warmth of compassion? If our understanding of the world is crystal clear, but devoid of love and connection to others, is it merely a cold, sterile intelligence? This contemplation invites us to explore how we cultivate both of these wings in perfect, dynamic balance. Next, we are invited to expand the lens of our compassion beyond the individual. What does it mean to hold compassion for the vast, complex, and often impersonal systems that create the conditions for suffering economic structures, political ideologies, historical injustices? What does compassionate action look like at this systemic level? This contemplation challenges us to move beyond interpersonal kindness into the realm of social and collective responsibility. Now, let us venture into the very heart of perception itself. From a non-dual or deeply interconnected philosophical perspective, we can begin to gently question the seemingly solid division between self and other. If we are all, as the Stoics suggested, leaves on the same tree, or as mystics might say, waves in the same ocean of consciousness, is there truly a separate self giving compassion to a separate other? Or is compassion simply the natural response of an integrated whole to suffering that arises within itself? To sit with this can transform the practice from a virtuous act into a simple expression of our true, interconnected nature. Finally, we must courageously hold the profound paradox of compassion and equanimity. How do we cultivate a heart that is boundlessly open to the immense suffering of the world without being utterly destroyed by it? How can we care deeply while maintaining our own inner peace and stability so that we may continue to be of service? This contemplation asks us to find that sublime, razor's edge where our hearts can break open in love for the world, yet our minds can remain steady, clear, and resilient. These contemplations are lifelong companions. As we hold these expansive questions with humility, let us now ground ourselves again, synthesizing how the cultivation of empathy and compassion integrates with the rich journey we have taken so far in our wisdom quest. As you can now sense, this outward turn towards empathy and compassion is a natural, powerful culmination of all the inner work we have done so far. This practice is deeply enriched by a grateful heart from day 7. When we appreciate our own lives, we are more motivated to help others appreciate theirs. It is utterly dependent upon the skills of mindfulness from day 6. We must be present to truly hear and be with another person's experience. It requires the art of letting go from day 5. We must let go of our ego, our judgments, and our desire to be right in order to truly create space for another's reality. And it finds a deep philosophical resonance with the Stoic ideal of cosmopolitanism from day 4, the profound recognition that we are all interconnected citizens of a single universal community, and thus have a natural duty of care towards one another. Empathy is the sacred act of seeing the divine in another. Compassion is the sacred act of serving the divine in another. Together, they are the qualities that transform us from isolated individuals into integral parts of a connected and caring humanity. They are the source of our deepest meaning and our most profound joy. So, I invite you now to reflect on how you can begin to water the seeds of these qualities in your own life. In the comments below, please consider sharing your thoughts on this. What is one small, concrete action you could take this week to practice either empathic listening with someone in your life, or to extend a small, anonymous act of kindness? Your intentions and your stories create a field of shared inspiration for all of us. If this deep exploration of empathy and compassion has touched your heart and expanded your understanding, please support our shared quest with a like on this video. It is a simple act that helps this wisdom reach a wider audience. And please ensure you are subscribed and have activated the notification bell as our journey together continues to unfold in beautiful and powerful ways. Tomorrow, on day 9, we will continue this exploration of virtuous living by examining the cardinal virtues, ancient blueprints for character. We will see how qualities like wisdom, justice, fortitude, and temperance provide a robust framework that supports and guides our compassionate engagement with the world. Thank you for your open hearts and your willing minds today. Remember that every interaction is an opportunity to practice these profound arts. Be kind, listen deeply, and I will see you tomorrow.